it's a very, very, very addictive show. Vinita and I went to school together.
Oh, wow.
We were in the same class, in the same school. You know, they throw the sharks in the ocean
Right.
and say, now you swim. And I feel the show is doing great justice to this phenomenon of entrepreneurship in our country. I would pick the overconfident one over the bad math. It's definitely easier to get funded nowadays on Shark Tank versus what it was back then. So the work continues from here, and there's a lot to
Hi, this is Farzeen and welcome to India Today. And I have with me Kunal Bahl, who's joining Shark Tank India. So tell us what brings you to the show.
For me, it is more about just encouraging and promoting entrepreneurship in our country.
Yeah.
India has been bitten by the startup bug. And, while all of us have been doing various things to promote entrepreneurship, whether run our own companies or invest in startups, the show offers an incredible platform at like nation scale to disseminate knowledge, experiences, mistakes, obviously capital, amongst other things.
Yeah. But have you followed the previous seasons?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard. Firstly, it's a very, very, very addictive show. I mean, once you start watching one pitch, you actually can't stop. You always like, chalo ek aur dekh le. Let's just watch one more. And so I watched many pitches from all the past 3 seasons. This season, I will be watching all the pitches.
And tell us, what was your first day like, Kunal? Tell us more about that.
Well, a lot of nerves.
Oh.
Yeah, because you have dozens of cameras pointing at you. You have the other sharks who are very seasoned at the job.
Yeah.
Because they've all been around for multiple seasons or all seasons prior to this. So you have to be sort of quick on your toes because we don't know who's pitching.
Yeah.
Literally, the moment we come on the set, sit on our chairs, it's really then that we find out the company, what does it do. So you have to be really quick on your feet in terms of thinking about how do you analyze this business, what feedback do you give to the founders, and whether you invest or not.
Yeah, but did you know any of the sharks from before? Like,
almost all of them, because we're all kind of the same age. Most of us have been around in the startup ecosystem for the same amount of time. Particularly, I think Vinita and I went to school together.
Oh, wow.
We were in the same class in the same school, DPS Arkipuram in Delhi in 7th and 8th, and then 11th and 12th.
Right.
So imagine what serendipity,
Absolutely.
right? What are the chances that 30 years later we'll be on the same show, TV show? It's mind-blowing coincidence. So yeah, I knew most of them prior to the show.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how excited your classmates from school would be just to see both of you together.
I think they will be shocked. They will definitely be shocked.
Yeah.
But it's just been such a fantastic experience, and I think the show has come out really, really well. Right, like the quality of the pitches, the quality of the businesses, the quality of the conversations, and obviously some of the excitement that happens on in some of those hard fought for deals. It's a great mix.
Absolutely. But Kunal, also tell me, like, you've watched the previous 3 seasons as an audience. You must have had your own assumptions about how the show functions, how the sharks function.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was the biggest assumption that you felt, no, this is not how it is? Tell me about that experience.
I always used to think that they definitely would be given a hint as to what companies are coming.
Yeah.
Because you have to be really thinking fast on your feet. Because like in one day we shoot 6 pitches.
Wow.
Right. And it's one after the other with a short break in the middle. And each of those 6 could be from a very different industry, different size of company, different background of founders. So you have to keep switching the context in your head.
Right.
And I used to always think that they must be giving some sense, these are the 6 companies or the 6 industries the companies will be from. And then when I came here, I realized that no, there is no context whatsoever. You're just literally, they throw the sharks in the ocean and say, now you swim.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, a lot of people also kind of assume that sharks are here to maybe get that kind of popularity that their companies have, but this is for your own brand image. What do you have to say about that? Does Shark Tank India, being on Shark Tank India, adds to your brand image, brand value?
Well, look, any exposure at this scale, you know, has has both sides to it, and you have to hence handle it with great responsibility, because suddenly people look up to you, and they may be looking up to you before also, but suddenly it's at a different orbit, because prior to the show, people in our ecosystem may know us or know of us. But now suddenly a lot of people, household, children, elders across the country who have nothing to do with the technology or the startup ecosystem also know you. And so how you conduct yourself is very critical, both on the show and obviously off the show. So with this exposure also comes a great sense of responsibility, is all I would say. And but look, the heroes of the show are not the sharks. The heroes of the show are the entrepreneurs. And I feel the show is doing great justice to this phenomenon of entrepreneurship in our country.
Yeah, but I think it also kind of it's a great promotion for your own brand, also for your company. Do you feel Snapdeal would go on to just reach out to a more wider audience?
Possibly, although I don't think people are coming to the show to learn about Snapdeal or Unicommerce or Titan Capital, like our three businesses. I think they're coming to understand the variety of businesses that are being created across the country, which ones are being built well, which ones are not being built well, or there's room for improvement, and learning from them. Maybe just as a corollary or as a byproduct of that, they learn about the businesses of the sharks, and it piques their curiosity as a result. But look, I feel as a viewer, I always came to Shark Tank in previous seasons to learn about the type of businesses that are being created in the country.
Yeah, and all sharks have varied personalities. Kunal, what can we expect from you? How are you when it comes to dealing with pitches? Are you someone who kind of aggressively fights for it? Tell us about that.
I think you'll have to see the show. It's kind of hard to speak about oneself in that light, but I feel that you may have to watch the episodes to see. I'll actually be watching the episodes to see my own style, because look, I came here, I was, to be honest, like I talked to a couple of people who've been on shows before, and I asked them, like, any advice you have, and they said, just be yourself. And I can say with great degree of confidence that I was myself. So whether you like me or don't like me, I can tell you that's who I am.
Right. And what was your family's reaction to it? And also because it's added work hours, or what were their feedback?
Oh yeah, that is probably the most grueling part of this. Like, weekends are for my family, and shooting week after week after week, and we shoot on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's sort of non-stop, morning till night. So because I live in Delhi and the shoot is in Bombay, I would fly in. I would go straight from office on Thursday to the airport at night, land at 11 p.m., come on the set by 9:30 the next day on Friday, shoot till 10:30, then 9:30 to 10:30 on Saturday, then 9:30 to 10:30 on Sunday, and then fly out on Monday morning and go back to office. So it does come at a cost to your personal life, to your family. But my family's always been, I'm so blessed that they've always been very supportive of all my endeavors, and it was no different in this case.
Amazing. And tell me, of course, what is your pet peeve when it comes to the pictures? Like, what just irks you?
A lack of focus, probably. The business may not be going in the right direction. The economics may not be right. There may be things that need to be fixed in a business. But when founders try to do too many things, because most of the companies that come are at an early stage, and it's important hence to focus and have clarity of thought as to what is the problem we are trying to solve. I wouldn't say it irks me, but that is the first thing I'll usually catch on to if I see that the team is distracted with multiple problem statements and not trying to excel at one problem statement.
Yeah, but a bad math or an overconfidence founder, like, which one would you pick
A
to deal with?
bad math or
overconfident?
I think it really depends on the context, to be honest, right? It's very hard to say. Look, I never underestimate someone who, I've learned to never underestimate someone who overestimates himself or herself. There is a certain amount of irrational belief that entrepreneurship requires, because the odds are always stacked against you. So if you made me pick, I would say I would pick the overconfident one over the bad math one.
Yeah. And I mean, like, while interacting with these founders, does it just takes you back in time and kind of recall your days and tell us how was that back then?
Yeah, I think it invokes so much nostalgia.
Yeah.
Right? Because all of them, you are vicariously living through your journey all over again, through their lens, through the lens of their experiences now. There were moments there were really like poignant moments where, I remembered the time when I was sleeping on the shop floor of a printing press that was printing our booklets. Like it almost brings like a tear to your eyes. Because in entrepreneurship, what happens is you have to be perennially optimistic about the future. And the way you do that is stop thinking about the problems you've had in the past, and you put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. But when you see some of the founders, hear of their struggles now or recently, it really takes you back. It really, transports you back teleports you to that time when you went through the same challenges.
Absolutely.
But that also increases your empathy for them, right? And I think the founders do appreciate that.
But what has changed, Kunal, from back in time? Any major difference that you see when it comes to entrepreneurship or just funding?
I get asked this often, and I always say, what hasn't changed? Everything has changed, right? Like when Rohit and I started in 2007-8, there were 7 million internet users in India. Now there are 1 billion.
Absolutely.
Right? How many business models, founders, investors have come and gone, and some people and companies have stayed resilient and continue to prosper. And there are many lessons in that. But the biggest thing that has probably changed is, I would say the connectivity in the nation. As a result, it has created this rails and platforms for entrepreneurship to blossom in our country.
Yeah. And if Shark Tank was back in time, would you have come on the show to get funding?
In 2000?
Yeah.
For sure. I can tell you, these days it's a lot easier to get funded if you're an early stage founder.
Yeah.
Back then, when we started, there was nothing known as angel investors.
Absolutely.
There were only devils.
Yeah.
Right? Like one time we were introduced to a prospective angel investor in 2007, 2008. And after a 2-hour pitch to the person, they said, we'll invest 50 lakhs in the company for 60% equity.
Oh my God.
So they call themselves angel investors, but they were definitely wolf in sheep's clothing.
Absolutely.
So the ecosystem has actually come of age. I would definitely be on the show because it's definitely easier to get funded nowadays on Shark Tank versus what it was back then.
Truly. But tell me, if there's an e-commerce website out here as a pitch in front of you, how would you react to that, Kunal?
There were many, and I would react to it very positively. And in some ways, I think that is where the founders also are able to see that, the depth of knowledge that you get about a business or a sector when you've built one in that sector yourself is of a different order of magnitude. And I think the founders who come on Shark Tank can tell who has depth, right? So if we've built an e-commerce business, we built a software business, they can tell that this person has tremendous depth in that sector. And so I'm actually always waiting. Like if there are more e-commerce software or brands companies that come to the show.
And talking about e-commerce, there's always this criticism that it has made us very lazy, that we just shop on our phones. It has killed the experience of going to the mall, shopping. How do you react to that, Kunal?
I think that's maybe a limited phenomenon if you think about it. Today, 90% of retail is still happening offline. So I think it's really phenomenon limited to a certain segment of the society,
right,
in a certain few set of cities. That's it. Otherwise, 90% of India is still enjoying shopping offline.
Yeah. And there's this interesting thing that's going viral is how Android and iPhone users get different prices when it comes to e-commerce apps and websites. Is that true? Would you like to clarify on that?
Well, you should ask the companies that are, suspected of doing that. So I don't think appropriate for me to comment for other people. But look, at the end of the day, I feel consumers are smart, and over a period of time, they figure out which company is providing them value and which company is not.
Absolutely. And tell us more about the journey that you've had and what's the plan ahead for the next year.
Well, right. I think firstly, I'm going to go sleep a lot because I really lost a lot of sleep through the shoot. And it's been, don't get me wrong, it's been fun and exhilarating and exciting. And I feel in life you should always try everything once, right? Like all kind of interesting experiences you must try, and really push the boundaries out and push yourself out of the comfort zone that you're in. And so I can definitely say I've done that right now. But once this show and shoot is done, it'll be definitely back to work. We have a lot of exciting things happening in all our businesses. Unicommerce, our software business, we took public just 3 months ago. It's been a very successful IPO, second most subscribed IPO of 2024 in India, and the companies continue to do well. Snapdeal continues to go from strength to strength. Our focus on the smaller towns and offering them affordable merchandise, that strategy has really worked out well for us. Titan Capital, we have funded nearly 300 companies over the last 13 years, and we continue to invest in 10 to 15 new companies, new startups every year at the seed stages. So the work continues from here, and there's a lot to do.
Yeah. IPO has also suddenly become a very trendy topic of discussion. How do you look at it in terms of flourishing a business ahead?
Yeah. Look, IPO is I won't call it a final destination, but definitely a significant milestone for any company, because the moment you go public, you have larger shareholders like 50,000, 1 lakh shareholders. Like I think in Unicommerce, we have 1 lakh shareholders. That's a lot of shareholders.
Absolutely.
Right? Suddenly the level of accountability, responsibility goes up, but so does the access to resources. So does the ability to win trust and credibility of the market. So we've had a great experience taking Unicommerce public. We've been able to reward our shareholders with great returns up till now. And hopefully that continues on a going forward basis. And so I feel that it's great that all companies at some point are now, like when I'm meeting the early stage startups, even they are saying, हमें 5 साल में IPO करना है, we want to go IPO in 7 years, which I never heard before, only and only because we have so many role models now, which have gone public and have become lasting, enduring companies.
And then because you also interact with a lot of founders of camera, of Shark Tank India also, what has changed, Kunal, over the years? What is the biggest change that you see in these founders? And tell us more about your experience meeting them.
Yeah, I think there used to be an obsession with raising money.
Okay.
Every ecosystem goes through its phases, right? Like there was a period in the middle where the success looked like raising a round of capital. Now success looks like building a profitable, growing company which eventually has strong enough foundations to go public. Right? There's a term I coined earlier this year, which has become quite a movement, called an Indicorn. Everyone's obsessing about unicorns, right? Which is $1 billion valuation. I've often questioned, why $1 billion? Why dollars? It's not even our currency. Why 8,500 crores? It has no relevance to our business. And it's valuation. It has nothing to do with the revenues or profits of the business. So I coined this term Indicorn, which is a company that does 100 crores of revenue and is profitable and was started in the last 15 years.
Right.
And there are 187 Indicorns in India.
Wow.
And a lot of the pitchers that came on Shark Tank this year are talking themselves, unprompted by me, themselves, that we want to build an Indicorn.
Amazing, amazing. But tell me, has there been ever like a weirdest pitch that has come to you and in the weirdest place? Do you remember that? That just kind of
for sure. Like a lot of people have grabbed me in the washrooms.
Oh my God.
So that happens very often because, you can't run.
Yeah.
Like it's happened more than a few times.
Yeah.
Washrooms, airplanes.
Oh my God.
Happens a lot. And because you can't escape. But it's okay. Look, I see each one of these interactions as an opportunity for me to, maybe they're running a very interesting business.
Yeah.
Our first investment at Titan was Ola Cabs in 2011. And I was actually waiting, coincidentally for a cab. And
Amazing.
Bhavish ran into me and he said, I want to talk to you for a few minutes. So we just sat down while I waited for my cab.
Amazing.
And I realized that we have to obviously invest. So it was our first investment.
Amazing. So we need to catch up with you while you're waiting for something. Kunal, also tell me, like this entire influencing on LinkedIn, like LinkedIn influencing, how does that help, and does that really help?
I'm not trying, at least if you ask me, I'm not trying to be an influencer or anything of that sort, right? I like writing.
Yeah.
I like putting my thoughts down in written format. And I think LinkedIn offers a great platform because all the business people, business oriented people, startup ecosystem folks are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to share one's own learnings, mistakes, opportunities, trends, and also a great way to get to know new people who otherwise you may not meet in normal circumstances. So I really like LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform.
It's
right? Like,
mine too. Yeah.
I barely use Instagram. I only use Instagram to look at food videos. But otherwise, Twitter or X I use mostly for consuming news. LinkedIn for consuming and sharing knowledge. Instagram for looking at food videos.
Yeah, but because of LinkedIn also, conversations around toxic work culture or long working hours has also become very common.
Yeah.
As a founder yourself, tell me, Kunal, what's your kind of initiatives to have your employees have a happy life?
Look, we don't believe in the concept of FaceTime, that you have to sit in office just twiddling your thumbs just because you're expected to be there. At the highest level in a company, we'll set clear goals, clear expectations with our team, align them to the expectations, and then it's your job to deliver it. If you're not able to deliver it, you're running into problem, please come discuss with us and we'll help you to the best of our abilities. But our goal is to not overwork the team, but at the same time, our goal is also to keep the team accountable because we also have shareholders who we are accountable to. So I think it's a give and take and it works well.
Amazing. And lastly, I'll take this opportunity to ask you to give 5 money tips for youngsters who are kind of looking up to you as their role model. Anything that you want to share?
I would only share one.
Okay.
Because I think it's the most important one which has helped me very well.
Yeah.
I feel oftentimes in this now significantly prospering India, this new India where there's prosperity which is growing everywhere, young people will soon run into the will soon run into the situation where their income levels are rising very rapidly. And the single biggest lesson I learned and applied to my life, which helped me weather through the toughest of storms in my professional life, were that never let your personal expenses catch up, or a personal lifestyle catch up with your financial situation. Like if you are earning this much, keep your expenses here. Always have a buffer in the middle, because all of us, whether we like it or not, from time to time will have some shocks. Like I've had my shocks, everyone has had their shocks. If you have some buffer, what it does is, yes, you'll go through some pain, but your family will never be affected.
Amazing.
And so your relationship with your family will always stay very positive.
Yeah.
So in my times of agony, pain, trouble, that philosophy around money management has helped.
Superb. Thank you so much, Kunal, for this, and thank you so much for this lovely conversation.